I usually don't make a video after a full 9-hour shift, but today I have to. Today is the day this pig actually gets to become a drivable car. So we did a lot of work to get this drivetrain running. For those of you guys who are new to the channel and don't know, we did a complete motor build. So this motor was just a bare engine block and we built the whole thing, forged, whatever, manual, clutches, all the stuff, make it work. First start, it was beautiful. And now it runs and drives and it's a solid, beautiful little engine. It's got a couple little hiccups that I need to fix. An injector, and then the thermostat's starting to leak a little bit, but we'll fix all that little shit later. We got it finished probably like almost 6 months ago at this point, and I've only put 200 miles on the car. That is because the suspension on this thing, when I was 18, I dropped, it was 18 or 17. I threw it on H&R race springs. Those H&R race springs fucking destroyed the shocks. On top of that, the car sat for 2 years and that made it even worse. So pretty much when we got the brand new engine up and running, it was amazing and I was super happy, but the car drove like absolute dog shit because the suspension was just so fucked. And because of that, it was eating the hell out of the tires. So the last few days I've been working to get a good new set of meats on this thing. I just had some used tires for the same size laying around the house, so we threw those on. And today, the creme de la creme came in. Ooh! Oh! That was the original, one of the original wheels, and this one was the spare, but that wheel is bent and the other two fronts are not. We're gonna be running all 4 contours on the bucket again, which I'm super hyped for because I love these wheels. It is about time. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh yes. I have been waiting literally 5 years to buy coilovers for this car. Oh yeah. That is delicious. So these are BC BR coilovers, straight up out of the box. Just a standard issue coilover setup for it. And I'm hyped. Is this a rear spring? So I didn't go with custom coilovers like I did on this car. This has extreme low coilovers with Swift springs. These are literally just out of the box. As much as I would love to get full custom coilovers for this car, number one, this isn't really a handling build as much as the sedan is, so I wanted a really nice set of coilovers for this car. I think the default ones are gonna be like perfectly fine. They're still BC coilovers for this thing. And on top of that, this car took about 3 months for them to get the coilovers to me from the day I ordered them. And this took like less than a week, so what I'm getting to is hopefully with the coilovers on, I can take this thing to Beamerfest. I know a lot of you guys are gonna be coming to Beamerfest, or at least some of you guys will, and I've really wanted to take the bucket there because it'd be kind of fun. So if we could take both the whips, that would be beautiful. I wanted that one to come, but that one's definitely not gonna make it. That thing doesn't even run yet. And we don't have pedals for it or a differential that works, and it's like 500 bucks to make the drive shaft work. Fucking stupid. So the Cheeto's definitely not coming. The sedan is for sure coming, and the bucket might be coming. And getting proper suspension and good tires on this thing are a huge step in the direction towards making that happen. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock and we're gonna be installing coilovers because I really don't care. I actually want to drive this thing with the coilovers on just to see how good it's gonna be. One thing I will say is that we're not going to be dumping the car like this initially, as much as I would love to. The alignment on this thing is super freaking jank. So we're going to put the coilovers on at a fairly modest height, probably closer to stock height than anything, simply because the alignment machine that I have at my work that I use every single day uses tire clamps, so the alignment like claw clamps over the tire. It doesn't clamp onto the wheel, so it kind of grabs on the tire like that in like 3 different places, which means you have to have room between the fender and the tire to actually put the alignment machine onto the car and actually make it work. Yeah, you can't align that at my shop. Not like that. The damn thing is just too low. Once it drives straight, I would like to get a setup similar to this. I don't know if it's going to be able to go that low because that is as low as the rear will go, and those are extreme low coilovers. These are just normal coilovers, so I don't know if it'll go as low as this, but if it can get decently close to that, it'll be perfect. I do like the way the H&R race springs sit on this car, but I wish it was a little bit lower in the rear, and I think it's a little bit too low in the front, so. For my drop top boys who do not know, your upper shock mount, bing bada boom, look at that shit. That shock mount is fucking toast. Good lord, that is brutal. And this shock mount is freaking toast. Dude, that shock was doing 0 things. That is what I'm talking about. Oh god, I can't even push that down, it's so stiff. Put your foot on the rotor. And that is how you get both springs out at the exact same time. Huh? So there's about 4 splines there. So we'll see how that works. And those of you guys that are installing coilovers, if you install this at the bottom, you're a fucking psychopath. 6. I think I'm running 6 clicks on the rear, 8 clicks on the front, so we're gonna start with that. So whenever I'm installing coilovers, I kind of like to mirror sides. So I'll kind of do both sides at the same time. Simply because if you'll notice, that spring is nowhere near touching that. And so what'll happen is you'll do one side, you're gonna have to jack this up. So I'll put a lug nut there and kind of jack it up to get this to touch. Not to mention that there's a pretty big gap. So that's where that bolts into, and that's what it bolts to. So you gotta close that gap by jacking it up. What'll happen, especially on the front, not so much back here, but it's still good form, is you'll jack this side up and it's going to tweak that sway bar and make the other side a pain in the ass. So I'll kind of, this side is all set up, ready to be jacked up. So I'm going to mirror that on the passenger side. And so that way when I actually go to jack it up, it's going to make it a lot easier and I can sort of get both sides dialed in at the same time. Just a little tip I learned from doing the first set of coilovers on this, or on the sedan at least. Oh baby! That is a spicy meatball. Yeah, so this one's set at pretty much the same height as well. So we'll just throw this on as is and see what happens. So now we jack it up. And you kind of have to guide the spring to sit in that little hole. And you also kind of have to move the shock out so it'll line up with that thing. Easily the most ridiculous part of coilover installs is when you take the jack off. It doesn't even freaking move, man. It always sits so freaking high in the wheel well, it's ridiculous. Yeah, see what I mean? The sway bar like closed that gap quite a bit, so it makes it a lot easier to get everything dialed in. All right. Oh, it feels so good. It's always good to go in and make sure that everything is sitting the way it should, because sometimes you'll have like that lower spring plate and like not sit on properly, and you just honestly never know. Alright, so we got the meats on, and the thing that kind of sucks is like that's pretty much the wheel gap I was going for, except the car's not even on the ground yet. Nope, that's not gonna be enough. That ain't it, Chief. Alright, so last night I started working on the fronts and then I smashed my finger and I got really pissed off, and so I just went to bed. So we got the rears on. They're not dialed in perfectly yet. So I mic'd the arms of the alignment machine at work, and they're actually thinner than the 2 coilover wrenches together. So I think the point is, so the goal is to be able to have both of these and slide them on top of the tire to kind of replicate the arms grabbing. So I think, but we ain't there yet. But I do want to do the fronts first, because even if I don't have it set at the proper ride height, I can still freaking drive it, which is going to be cool, just to see how nice they actually drive compared to the old shitty ones. So we're about to start working on the fronts here. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the sway bar on the lower link, because these BC coilovers come with their own end links somewhere. Yeah, so they have their own end links because the end links are a lot shorter, because it mounts differently on the strut differently. It mounts, yeah, so regardless, the lower shock body is a little bit different because it is a coilover setup, so it comes with different arms. And you have to take it off of the sway bar anyway, so I'm just gonna do that on both sides. When you're installing these coilovers, just like the rear, these fronts will sit a lot higher up in the wheel well. And so I'm going to take both sway bar links off at the same time, so when I do put them on and jack it up to bolt it all down, it's going to sit a lot higher up. And what I noticed is last time I did one side at a time, and so I still had the other side sway bar attached. So when I jack this side up, this side was under a ton of tension, and it made it really difficult to get that sway bar link off. So I'm just going to start by taking both off right from the get-go. So if you stick a 16 open-ended box end wrench in there on the other side of the sway bar, it makes it a lot easier to take it off. Then you can also use it to pry it off. Now let's move on over. Wheel speed and the brake line. We are home free. Alright, so now you have movement in that. There we go. It's always good to have a jack under that, because when you pull that lap bolt off, there's nothing going to be supporting the weight of all of this. So that can hang out, and all of this is loose. Look at that crusty shock. Unlike the rears, the fronts are labeled. So FL right there, and this should be FR. Yep, front right. So this is our right side boy. Yeah, look at that. You can see clearly the spindle height difference, because the tops are just about lined up. So that's how much higher the wheel well, or the wheel assembly, will sit in the wheel well. Alright. So it's on, but it does have some movement to it. So it gives us a little more play for lining this up. The thing with suspension that I've noticed is if you leave things loose, it makes it so much easier to go on for whatever you're working on. Control arms, racks, struts, whatever it is, just to make it a little bit easier. Otherwise, suspension can be really freaking frustrating. So, but now you guys can see how much we're gonna need to move this shit up. Partially in. We're in, baby. So all the bolts and nuts are loosely on. Nothing is tied down yet. I'm gonna jack it up, and that should tighten down. So I just realized that's wrong. This is supposed to be a camber plate, not a caster plate. Oh yeah. From here we can get to that boy and that boy. So I'm gonna put that right there and torque that bad boy, and then we'll torque that bad boy, and then we'll throw our sway bar end link on. Alright, so I got the sway bar end link on. It is not tight on either. And I'm okay with that. I'm gonna hold off on tightening that until we get the other side on, because the sway bar can still move if the end links are a little bit loose. So it's gonna make it a lot easier to get the other side on. Yeah, that thing's puking power steering fluid now. Sweet. Ah, shut up. Oh, come here, you beautiful, beautiful suspension. Let the fight begin. Oh, fuck. Wrong way to start a fight. Oh. Losing already. Why don't you love me? Good Lord. I bought you coilovers. Alright. I got all 3 bolts back there. The nut is on that one guy. And that was a thorough pain in the ass. That genuinely took the worst turn it possibly could have. But here we are. We're good. And then we got to refill my freaking power steering system because it's bleeding on the ground. This whole video went to shit in about a day and a half. There's our little package of tools. There's our sway bar and link. Round 2, baby. Alright, so that is one side officially on, 100% torqued and everything. We just got to put the wheel on, see where it sits, and adjust the ride height. I do need to tighten the sway bar on this side. Alright, boys, we out here. Bucket is on. BC's, baby. I'm so happy. And I got some stickers from my toolbox. So I want to be able to like hold it flat against the top of the tire. And that ain't happening yet, Chief. But let's still drop it down and see where she sits. Oh, we are low, dude. We are way too low. But that front is just way too low. And that's kind of the same thing that happened when I put the coilovers on the little sedan over there. The front was just way too low from stock. So that's probably going to be even lower than the actual ride height when I actually drop the car properly after the alignment. It's not even going to be that low. It does look good that low, I will say, but that's pretty much unusable. I am going to back this thing out to adjust it outside, because in there is just a pain in the ass. Oh, my airbag light went off. So now I have no lights on my sedan. Ew! Power steering pump is whining and I'm freaking rubbing like a mother, dude. I felt that thing rub. So that is it sitting flat on the tire, and that's about 3 1/4 inches to the outside of that. And so I need to be about 3 1/4 inches up, a little bit over. So we got about 1.5 inches-ish to go up. We need to get that to about 1.5 inches, yeah. So for BC coils, for my dudes who don't know, you loosen that if you want to raise it, and then you pretty much just twist the entire shock body like that, and that will raise or lower your strut. I was actually lowering it right there. So if you're adjusting coils for the first time, do not fuck with these. Alright, so I took it pretty much to just an even 2. So I'll run it to an even 2 on that side. And now to lock it down, tighten that up, and now you have a raised BMW M3. That still ain't it, Chief. That's a start though. Alright, so that right there is an even 3. So close. That is so close. Why you make it so hard to raise you? I don't understand. We still need to go higher in the back. Alright, we found it. It's 3.5. 3.5 is the magic number. Jesus. And it looks like a normal car. This side is still eating shit. Alright, this side is dialed in, I think. There we go. I think that side is higher than the other side, but they're both at 3.5. Yeah, that looks about right. That right there is a ride height your dad would approve of, boys. Alright, now we just gotta get the back that height. I think I'm gonna worry about that shit later because I really just want to drive this thing. Alright, so let's get this at 8 from stiffest. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that should be a decent damp setting. So we're running 6 away from hardest rear, 8 away from hardest front. I think I'm running a similar setup in the sedan. We'll see. Damping on these is kind of one of those you got to feel for it thing. So if I drive it and it's too stiff, then I'll loosen it. It all kind of comes down to feel with setting up coilovers like this. All right, now we're a normal car. Can't be flexing on these people with no center caps. Ooh, it does feel good to have all 4 contours on this thing again, because we're stripping the DS2s, baby. Ooh, it's a little stiff, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so it's still way too stiff. We have BCs on, baby. Ooh. So I do still need to raise it up a bit in the rear. It's still sitting too low, surprisingly. Too low to get the alignment machine set up on it, so I do have to raise it up a bit. It's actually really refreshing to me that it's riding too stiff, you know what I mean? So I think we'll do 2 on each and see how that goes. 1, 2. I think as I drive it, the suspension is going to settle a little bit more, and maybe we'll do some adjusting then. I don't want to get too crazy with adjustments right now, simply because they're brand new coilovers and they will settle. But for now, it's good enough. We just got to get that rear heightened. But it feels good. All right, I'm happy with that for now. Oh, it feels so good to have coils finally on this thing. Hopefully, we can get that alignment issue dialed in, and then I'm planning on taking this thing to Beamer Fest, which would be freaking ace. So some of you guys are coming to Beamer Fest West on Saturday next, not this weekend, but weekend after next on the 25th. I'll probably be there on Saturday. I will be there on Saturday, hopefully with this thing. I'm definitely going with that thing though, for sure, 100%. But if this thing can make it out there, that would be beautiful. And then we'll just have one of the boys, one of the homeboys who doesn't have a BM drive that thing. So it'll be fun. I can't wait to slam this thing on its ass. That'll be after the alignment. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I'll see you guys later.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. That's the
That'll work. I would like to publicly announce, as someone who daily drives that, at that ride height, this genuinely hurts my soul.